Hi, I'm Pete Hammond for the Critics' Choice Association, and I am so happy to be here with two newly minted nominees for our Critics' Choice Documentary Awards, including Best First Feature documentary for Mariska Hargitay. Welcome, Mariska. Hi.
Hi, happy to be here.
Yeah, and also biographical. Couple of nominations. So happy you got that. I'm on that committee, and this is one that I really was hoping would make it. It's such a strong documentary called My Mom Jayne from HBO. And before we start, I have to say that I was at the very first screening of this at the Cannes Film Festival. Yeah, at the
That's so lovely.
and classics there, and it was just such a special night. I saw you with your whole family, so excited to see this, Mariska. I mean, that had to be just a highlight for you.
It was extraordinary and a dream come true. And the night that it all became so real, right? Because I've been obviously thinking about this for so long. And then, we've been doing it for 2.5 years. And then, you sort of are living on an island in the work and in the story. And it was here. And then that was the night I remember I said, I feel like a 1,000-pound weight was off me that I released it, into the world. It was quite extraordinary.
And sitting next to you there is the film's producer with you. That would be Trish Adlesic, who on her own, a great documentary, which I love, the ABCs of Book Burning, which was nominated for an Academy Award, and so many other things that Trish has done. So you have collaborated in bringing this to the screen, a very obviously, I don't have to say it, personal project. It was clear to me. And I can tell you, too, which is interesting, at Deadline, which I work for as the film critic, all those movies that were at Cannes in main competition and everything, they said, can you go over there and do this? And I said, I love going to Cannes Classics. I love seeing that stuff. And so I went over there and I reviewed it. And it became, they have a Nielsen type rating system of our most read reviews. This was the most read review of all Cannes films. I'm not kidding you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, like it had 200.
Congratulations to you.
Yeah, I know. Second year in a row. I had the one last year too, but it was 200,000 or something views as opposed to like Mission Impossible, which had 8,000. So for the
wow, impressive.
it was really amazing. There was such interest in it very clearly. And I've always had an interest in it here. This is my box set of Jayne Mansfield movies. Love these movies. These are the classics. The Girl Can't Help It. Success Spoil, Rock Hunter, The Sheriff of Fractured Jaw, and all of those things that a lot of people knew Jayne Mansfield from. But until they got to this documentary, I don't think they really knew your mother. I don't think you really knew your mother until you did this.
That's exactly right. And that was really the impetus of the movie, to go and meet her, really. I look at this movie like an archaeological dig of going to find out who she was and who this woman was behind the pose and who she was behind these characters that she played, but finding out who my mom was. And, it was an extraordinary journey, and you never know what you're going to find, or when you endeavor to go on this kind of expedition and documentary. And it was just such a gift on so many levels, because I found out some really beautiful things that changed my whole perspective on her.
Yeah. What was the key? Well, when they see it, I don't want to give away everything because a lot of people here are going to see this. And when I saw it cold, watching it that night, I go like, oh my God. The revelations here that you're finding out, and we're watching it almost like voyeurs, I felt a little bit into your life there, which was an extraordinary thing to have to happen.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things that people say is, everyone says, I had no idea. I had no idea. And I say, I know, neither did I, about certain, right? But it was extraordinary to meet her, but also to introduce her to the world in a new way, and in a more whole way and complete way, and this idea, the way she was, put in a box, and how they wanted her to be one thing. And like all of us, we are such complex beings with so many layers. And it was fun to open that up and show the world this one woman. And so all women have all these different aspects to them, but to show this one woman who everyone knew on one level, on one plane, in a very one-dimensional way.
I love how you said they put her in a box. They literally put her in a box set here. And that's what people, think they know about Jayne Mansfield, who was in the 50s, like Marilyn Monroe and everything. But what I love too, aspects is showing the talent, the inherent talent that she had that she never got credit for, and they just wanted to, like you say, put her in a box. You're this, that was happening, stereotyping and all of that. And she really had talent. She had talent as a comedian, but as a musician and all of these things that people didn't know.
Well, I felt like I got to meet my mom as an artist. And that was one of the most extraordinary aspects and sort of components for me, is to see all the different facets of her. And there were so many. And that's why I think I went in that way with the music, right? Because
Yeah.
that was the first time I go, oh, this is an artist. And to see even her face and the musculature in her face and how she carried herself during these moments when she was, focused inward as a musician, were extraordinary, extraordinary moments for me. And it just, I really don't have the words actually, but it was
Trish,
fun.
how did this particular collaboration come together? You've worked together before, but the time is right now, or what was it?
Well, I've known Mariska for 27 years. I used to work on the show, and we got to know each other very well. And she took note of my documentary work with Gasland, and I eventually,
Which she was also nominated for.
Very good.
which I eventually ultimately left the show, and we did as you see, I Am Evidence together, and it was a great collaboration. And we have this synergy that's really extraordinary and exceptional. We almost finish each other's sentences sometimes, like we'll look at each other and go, and then we'll say it out loud in stereo. Mariska's talked about her mom for as long as I've known her, but in very vague ways. And she approached me at the end of 20.
And after I Am Evidence,
Yeah.
I think that everybody, when I Am Evidence came out in 2017, I think everyone asked, are you going to do a documentary about your mom? Are you going to do a documentary about your mom? And I said at the time, no, I was not ready for that.
Yeah. And it's quite the undertaking, as we saw. I think you said 2.5 years, but I'm looking at all the archival and everything that goes in, and the unearthing of all those photographs and that whole warehouse of material and things. That's a massive job, guys.
It was a massive job. And so when I decided to do it, I called Trish and said, I'm ready, because I knew that I wanted to make this movie with her. And after, our creative collaboration on I Am Evidence, and then knowing her for so long and knowing the kind of quality and the kind of director that she was, I had so much admiration and respect. And I knew that we would come together. And Trish, one of the things I'm so grateful for is, and proud of, is the team, the creative team that we assembled. Our DP, Tony Hardman, we had worked with on I Am Evidence. And Trish introduced me to our composer, Max Lichtenstein, who was just amazing. And Trish introduced me to several editors. And then I met J.D. Marlowe, who was just extraordinary. And he did exquisite work in this movie. And it was no easy feat going through all that archival. That was a full-time job. And it took us a year to edit this film.
Wow. What was the most surprising thing that you found in doing that, going through that whole life? Because you were 3 years old when she died in the tragic car accident, which you were in, as well as the film details. But that's 3 years old. You didn't really know your mother, as you say. So.
Exactly. I didn't, there were so many things that I learned about her. But as you saw in the end of the movie, I got to see all our similarities. And because we had, so much in common in certain ways, it was really, that was the beautiful reclamation of sort of the beautiful integration of realizing how similar we were, because my whole life, I, as I say, have sort of excised her and couldn't relate to her and didn't understand her and was like overwhelmed by her image, this sort
Yeah.
of symbol actress. And it was more than, a little girl doesn't really want to look at their mom like that. But as I, tore through all the layers and saw what she did, and to see her ambition and her fearlessness and her artistry and who she was as a musician and a mother and a wife and a breadwinner and and somebody who was so deeply compassionate and empathetic. Do you want to add something to that?
Well, this is all profoundly beautiful hearing Mariska say this, but for me, an exciting moment was when we were in the storage space, and I kept having this dream that she would find Jayne's Golden Globe, because ultimately that she would be able to bring it home. That's and it would live next to hers. And that's the scene in the film. It sort of happened organically.
We couldn't believe it. I know Trish had secret dreams about it, but I wasn't really thinking about that. I was thinking, what else was I going to find in there? And when we found the Golden Globe, that was pretty extraordinary.
That was really extraordinary. That was so fun, considering that you yourself have won a Golden Globe. There was symmetry there, and it gives you chills to watch it. I mean, that excavation.
But also the fact that it's just a family story. It's that even though it's a story about, Jayne Mansfield and, her daughter, it's really a family story. And that's what we hear the most, is that people say that, there's something in there for everyone.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the siblings aspect of it, because it looked like that might have been difficult to convince them to come on and be in the same mindset that you were in talking about this.
Well, they were, I'll tell you this, it was easier than I anticipated. I thought that it would be a little bit even more difficult. And when I met with each of my siblings, they were definitely a little trepidatious about it. They were definitely like, wait, what? Why? I don't know if we need to do this. That's all in the past. What are you doing? Why? Then they came around, and they all came around to the same thing, which was, I trust you. And if you want to do this, I will do it with you, and I will stand with you. And it was so moving to me. It was so beautiful to me. It was so generous of them, but also I don't really have the words to describe what it meant to me to have your siblings say, I trust you. And out of the process, I think that was one of the things I was most nervous about, was showing them the film. And, and once I did, and they were so moved by it and so happy with it, and they just loved it, that I thought, and I said to Trish, if this movie never sees the light of day, I'm good now. I'm happy, And so it was a beautiful moment in my life, sharing the doc with them and having them be happy and glad that they partook.
And also the family you never knew you had that partook here too, which is a huge part of this film, a discovery. Well, we know you as Mariska Hargitay, Mickey Hargitay being your father. You knew him as being your father. You found out some family secrets that were quite startling,
to say the least.
30 years later, you found out your biological father was not the one you always thought it was. And you put that very personal story in the middle of this film too. So it becomes another layer that we're watching. What was the decision in going there like you did?
I think the short answer is I was ready to. I was finally ready to do it. It's complicated. I can't tell you how many people come up to me even now and say, I have the same story and I've never told anyone. So many people, obviously also in the advent of DNA, but they all say, a lot of people have said to me that now they're ready to tell their stories, that they saw that it's okay and what can happen and what can be on the other side of it.
Well, congratulations again on the nominations for Critics' Choice Documentary Awards. More to come, I'm sure. This season is just starting, and it's exciting. And thank you both, Mariska and Trish, for joining us here. Thank you so much.
you.
Okay.